Hello everyone, this is Chinmay from Make Auto Clinic. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss about, or rather than that, I'm going to show you how to assemble a 4-speed gearbox which was there in the market for a long time. One of the rugged and one of the robust gearbox, from Enfield, which was there for a long time. And later on, of course, 5-speed gearbox came, and in fact about this 4-speed gearbox, then this is the gearbox which is improvised. Earlier gearbox was little bit different, not in dimensions, but some of the spares were not added. So in this gearbox, what is the difference between the older one and newer one? The only difference is some of the dimensions of the nut bolts. What I can say, fasteners are little bit different. Some are in mm, some are in still in inches, and important thing is that it has got a neutral switch. So older 4-speed gearbox was not having neutral switch, so we were not getting any neutral light on the speedometer. But yes, definitely in this gearbox there is a neutral switch. Apart from that, everything is almost same. Almost, because why I'm saying almost, particularly almost word, because as I mentioned, the dimensions of the nut bolts, somewhere they have used mm, somewhere they have used inches. So because of that only I'm saying that almost. Otherwise, say we can say 95% almost everything is same. There is no difference. So let's start up the work, and I hope you guys will enjoy this video.
So this is 4-speed gearbox casing. It's an aluminum alloy. Dimension wise may be a little bit different than older one, and of course addition is that this has got a neutral switch hole. This is the bearing which I'm going to use for the main shaft. It has got one side seal and one side it's open. It's a Z series what I'm using. Company doesn't give this, so this is my own improvisation for this gearbox. This is deliberately I have chosen because the grease will not come out from the bearing side if I keep it, if I use open one. I mean, if I use closed one, then it won't come out. So this is the facing. The seal has to be outside. You don't need to hammer the bearing inside the casing, since it's a very delicate spare part and the wall thickness is very thin. I mean, if you use too much of torque, so it's better to use hot air gun. It will expand the case, and you can put the bearing easily just by little bit of tapping. And this is not a direct hit. If you use blowtorch or something, then it may be direct hit. So I'm just going to keep it inside. I've just used normal hot air gun. I'm just tapping it very lightly. I'm not using too much of force. It goes inside without any problem. Be careful, it's a very hot casing right now, so just be careful while handling the casing. Little bit of tapping is enough for bearing fitment. As you can see, it's gone inside. Be careful. So the open side is inside, so the grease can keep on lubricating the balls properly. It's a cooling time. Let the grease get cooled down properly, and so we can work on the gearbox assembly properly. So it's time to fix up the oil seal, since we have ample accessibility working on the gearbox. So there are some steps which has to be like that only. You cannot just change the sequence, but before that we'll just apply some assembly lube on the bearing. I know actually in this case you don't require assembly lube, because that you will get to know once I start lubricating the gearbox. But still, I don't want to take a chance, because I'm going to keep on checking the gearbox while assembling the gears and the shafts. So I don't want to rotate the bearing in a dry condition. just for the safety purpose, I'm just applying little bit of grease, or I'm sorry, the lubricating oil, engine assembly lube. My interest is more important when I'm going to assemble the shaft and all other spare parts. That's the reason, I'm lubricating the bearing. Otherwise, it is not necessary. You can just directly start the assembly. But since it is always a good habit to check the assembly when you are, installing all those small spare parts. Now it's high time to, work on the seal. You just keep it flip side of the case. Just lubricate the edge or the wall, so the seal can, slide in that socket or the cavity easily. You need a lot of patience when you're working on, such spare part. This is the metal side face, so metal side face has to be outside. You just lubricate a little bit. Inner lip is also very much important. Don't install the seal in a dry condition. And this is the chamfer edge. The chamfer edge is basically given for, oil seal insertion. So the oil seal can go easily inside the socket or inside the cavity, or on the given, portion. Just lubricate the lip properly. I'm not saying that use that lubrication too much, but just lightly, filming is enough for that. And just press the seal, it will go easily. If the edge is fine and fantastic, and if the chamfer is not having no damage at all, then the seal will go easily inside. This can get damaged while removing the seal because of, plucking tool. So be careful with it. We have completed this job. Now next is installing spare parts one by one. I have taken one of the thermocol box which has got enough, cavity to keep the gearbox. Don't forget to lube it all. Leave the cavity or the box such a way, because the shaft is going to come outside from the bottom side, the main shaft. If you have the table, then nothing like it. I mean, the assembly table, then nothing like it. Otherwise, you can use such kind of a box. And it's a thermocol, so it won't damage the case from any side. Lubrication is important. Dry spare parts can get damaged. And remember one thing, don't wash or clean any spare part with the help of fuel, I mean petrol. It may remove all the oil film or whatever the film is there. It may come out. So it's best is to use your diesel rather than petrol. Keep on checking around whenever you are, installing spare part. Even if it is a small spare part, keep on checking around, because since you have too much of access or ample access to work on the gearbox, so I guess you don't want to remove the gearbox after assembling all the spare parts. So best is to check around. Lubricate the lay shaft as well. This is the end point of the shaft. Of course, lay shaft cup has to be lubricated properly. Keep on checking around. It's my habit basically to keep on checking around each and every spare part all the time. You can't go wrong. Don't worry about it. Checking all the spare part is necessary, because if there is any damage or something in the spare part, so you can get to know that whether it is playing perfectly well inside or not. we are not in hurry to assemble the gearbox. It has to be perfect. We can try our level with ourselves, no perfect. I know we can't, but still we can try our level. Application again. Just slide this gear on the main shaft sleeve easily. It's a main shaft sleeve, it's not a main shaft. Main shaft sleeve is for the sprocket fitting and the main shaft is for the clutch fitting. This much outside that sleeve will come, but right now everything is open, so the sleeve is coming outside easily. When we will start assembling all the gears, it may not come easily. That's the reason we had to check around if there is anything wrong or something. Very beautiful gearbox, very rugged, very robust. These are the main shaft, lay shaft gears. Keep on checking around if anything wrong, if there is no rotation or something. Even though if you are not a YouTuber or a vlogger, still this is the best habit if you keep on taking around all the photographs or the video, so you can get to know if there is any mistake you have done when you are doing any assembly. This is the lay shaft gear. It's a 4-speed gearbox, so there will be 4 gears over here. I have seen most of the people, they are using gear oil in the gearbox. I don't use it. Also, I have seen, kind of a careless or negligence by some people, but still gearbox, work very well on their machines. So this is how you're going to fix up. Now this is the fork. Now you can't go wrong. Even if you feel that something, it's not fitting, you can still check around because you can't go wrong. It won't fix, either ways. And this is the main fork, selector fork assembly. This is the whole assembly which we have to, fix inside the casing. It's a very cozy area. Don't forget to lubricate. If you put dry or without lubrication, then it may stuck up inside. So while assembling, always do the lubrication properly. You can use oil if you don't have assembly lube. This is how it's going to be inside. So first is that selector fork assembly has to be inside the main selector fork. Once it is gone inside, then you can start assembling one by one all other spares, but don't forget to check the movement or free movement of the fork. If it is bent or something, then it won't move. So best is to keep on checking around. I always prefer that. We all are lucky to see this assembly, because it's all it's very hard to get such kind of a chance. In the fork, you have to put that main selector fork. There are 2 tooths basically coming out, so you have to fix up in that tooth. Here, as I mentioned, it's a very cozy area, so don't consider that you have done the job. Just check it around from the bottom side whether the sleeve is outside or not. As I showed you before, how much sleeve was outside earlier and how much it is now. So that tells you that whether you are going wrong or right. Just wiggle little bit, keep on wiggling or rather till you feel that everything is perfect. Now it's high time to you know lock the main fork assembly by putting up the spindle. It has got a pivot point. The selector fork has got a pivot point. You have to synchronize this hole with the upper casing hole, as you can see again. Here you have to synchronize that hole, that fork hole with the casing. So it's a basically pivot point. This is the pin. This is the spindle, you can say. Lubricate. It is not a through spindle, so one side it is closed. It has got a special nut, and you need a special tool for this. You can't just use any screwdriver randomly. You can't even hammer it also. You need to have a special tool only. It has got a slot, very big slot, so you have to have a special tool only. Make sure the spindle is free, the fork is free, and so the nut. This is the tool. So you have to tight like this way. The tool will look like just if you people know about the speedometer drive assembly of Yamaha RX100. It's just like that only. The only thing is that dimensions are different. Keep on checking around whatever you have done right now, the spindle fitting and the fork stabilizing. So keep on checking around, all the gears are moving properly up and down. The fork is moving up and down. This is the kicker ratchet gear, last gear as well as it has got only one washer. And very surprising thing that this gearbox has got only one washer. That's a shield basically to avoid the friction with another spare part. There is nothing complex. The only thing is what it's very cozy. Properly. Otherwise, your kicker will get jammed if it is not gone inside. Also, if the shaft is up, the kicker will not go inside, it will get jammed or casing may not fit. Keep on checking around all the rotation. Now it's high time to install the main shaft assembly. Don't forget to lube. These are the grooves for the lubrication purpose only. Has to be clean. Remember, these all spare parts are used, not even brand new. But as I mentioned, these gearboxes were very robust, very rugged. It's completely gone inside the shaft. Check the assembly before locking up the fork lock. As I said, this is the fork spindle, and this one is given for neutral switch hole. forget any sequence, then best is to use spare parts catalog or the workshop manual. Important thing is logic. If you feel that you don't, if you say, let's consider you don't have any workshop manual or any database, then while dismantling the gearbox or any material, just keep on recording everything and taking the photographs. This is the fork lock. This is based on plunger. It goes inside, so lubricate that out as well. It gives the tension. It retains the fork at one position at each gear. So yeah, if this is not there, if it is gone, if it is damaged something, then you may have problem with the gears. Locate the slot properly. It has got slot. The fork has got slots. Total 5 slots will be there. One for neutral and other for gears. Gear position. It decides the gear position. And this lock has to be fitted. I mean, what you can see, the slot has to be horizontal or parallel to the ground. You can't fix up vertically. You will hear some click sound now. When you hear click sound, that means you are locating or you are tightening correct way. If you don't hear the click sound, that means something is wrong. So very small things you have to consider, and you have to keep on checking around. I'll show you. As you can see, tip, the fork lock tip or the notches and the fork lock. This is the fork arm where your selector assembly will be fitted. If you give too much pressure or low pressure, then can lead towards hard gear shifting. So this is very important. I'm just going to make it loose because I want to check whether the fork assembly is moving properly well or not after giving pressure from lock side. Now on the main shaft, as you can see, oil thrower ring. That is very much important. I'll tell you about it later on when we will work on the secondary cover of the gearbox. All things are moving properly, so I'm happy to go ahead. Keep on checking around everything by moving all the spare parts time to time. Just don't fix up everything and don't consider that you have done perfectly well. So checking around everything, each and every step. At that step you will get to know if there is any problem. As I said that we are not a man, so we just go step by step. That shows your quality, The skill is completely depending on your knowledge and your logic. Clean the surface properly, before going for a primary cover for it. You just put the main shaft bearing on the cover, on the primary cover. It's an open bearing. I'm not going to use sealed bearing in this case. I'm going to use open bearing only. It's kind of a slide fit. In some of the cases, it's tough fitting. If it is tight, then you can use hot air gun. Now it's time to fill up the shop made 00 grade grease for the gearbox. I have already made the video on this. Please refer that video, but still I'm going to show you here some, kind of a teaser. Here at this moment and stage, since the gearbox is completely open, so we have enough accessibility to pour the grease inside the gearbox. When it is on the motorcycle, then you have to use injection process only. You have to inject everything inside to the pillar plug. Mix it well. This is 700-gram grease. When it is in dry condition, I prefer to pour 700 gram. When it is not in dry condition, then I prefer to pour 500 grams, not 700, because you never know if you have removed everything from inside when you are draining the gearbox. Mix it well. Some people may feel kind of a dirty job, but you have to see the work properly. That is where you are going to get the satisfaction. And I feel this. I like to work the way I want. I'll just set up the gearbox. So you guys can see, I'm gonna pour the mixture, the oil mixed grease, and remember I have used 10W30 with 83 grease. You can use instead of 10W30, you can go for 20W40, but not the gearbox oil or gear oil. Just fill up. Now, as you can see, that it's very easy to fill up gearbox with this 00 grade grease. And here I made small mistake, but it's recoverable. But I forgot something. I'll show you what I forgot. The grease is going down. It's not going actually settling down inside the case, but it's coming out of the gearbox and the hole which I forgot to block. I'll show you what mistake I did over here. As you can see, grease is coming out from one of the holes, so I forgot to put this neutral switch. Forgot to close that vent of the hole. In fact, I didn't assume. I assume basically the grease will settle down below the level of the hole. Here I made a mistake. But anyway, it's not a big deal, because as you can see, I'm using special thermocol box, so all the grease is in good condition, not dirty, so I can use that. It's all gone down. I'm just going to close the hole. This 00 grade grease can work up to 15 to 20 kilometers if there is no leakage. As you can see, slight amount of grease came out of the hole, around about 100 grams. Anyways, shit happens. Not a big deal, we just cover up all that matter. I'm very happy that I'm sharing something with you guys after a long time. Now all done. I'm good to go for primary cover. Currently, because of the COVID, we are not taking any training sessions. Otherwise, definitely you guys can enjoy such atmosphere when you come to a workshop for training. 20 days training will be starting very soon. It depends on situation. Till the time I'll try to explain everything to you. This is the O-ring. Just don't forget to lubricate. In your box, when you should use O-ring, if the O-ring is damaged, then just replace. This is the cap for the bearing. If this O-ring is there damaged, then just replace it. I'm not replacing it because I know we should replace it, but I'm not replacing it. Number one, it's not available. Number two, it's not damaged. Number three, if I go for a new O-ring or for at least kicker, then the kick might get jammed or get tight or may feel it may get stuck. This is the kick ball. We will change the kick ball. I don't want this, even though this is good condition, not bad condition, but still I want to change it. It's not a costly spare part, but if you don't change this, then there is a possibility of having slippage in the kicker. This is the pin. There is spring inside. It's a retainer pin basically. Everything you get in the kit. Remove the spring and replace it with new one. If there is any problem with the tension, then don't remove, just replace it. About the O-ring, I was talking about. O-rings are right now not available, and as I did inspection of the O-ring, so O-rings are in good condition, so I can use it. Kicker, we use it only when we are starting, so the life of this O-ring particularly is not going to get damaged very fast. Number two, about the cap O-ring, then it is just it is just going to stop the leakage. Earlier the company used to provide packing over there, but here now they have given O-ring. So this is the cord. Here is the slot where that thing has to be seated properly. Make sure you are able to press it properly. How it works. This is the slot where the pin basically slides in and out. This is the primary cover. This is the bearing which we have fitted. We just lubricate that. We just use assembly loop. You can use normal that grease also, which is left over now. Here you don't need assembly loop because anyways, when we will keep the gearbox vertical, so the grease is going to lubricate the bearing, and here the torque is going to be different, not like a motor. This is a selector arm which helps you to select the gear. And here also just put some leftover 00 grade grease. Here it fixed actually on the arm, on the fork arm.
This is the position. Make sure it's rotating properly, smoothly. Is the kicker or the kick ratchet. You just have to press it. Make sure it is tightening. This is the shim which you need over here, or the washer, plain washer. Lubricate the lay shaft as well. The kicker is on the lay shaft. Power goes from lay shaft to main shaft to clutch to main primary chain, and then from primary chain to crank sprocket. This is the packing.
Unfortunately, as I mentioned, some of the spare parts are not available. So this is the aftermarket packing what I'm using, but if you are accessible for the original, then nothing like it, or else you'll have to settle down on the aftermarket material only. But it's not a bad packing. So, and number two, I don't have choice also. I'm just going to apply some grease filming on the packing, so it will just create some vacuum and it will fix up properly. And little bit of wetness also, it helps to compress the gasket properly when you tight the cover. Otherwise what happens later on, it starts becoming wet and then the cover becomes loose, or the thickness of the packing gets changed and it starts leaking around. It's time to go for a cover fitment. We are about to complete the job. We're just nearby. Very beautiful gearbox. It is just it's not a complex gearbox, but it's a cozy gearbox which gives you feeling of complex gearbox. Make sure you are locating all the three spare parts properly on the related spare part. Otherwise your gearbox assembly will get fail. Slightly you can tap, so it will fix properly. I'm using rubber mallet, and that is also very light tapping what I'm doing. Don't use metal hammer, it's an alloy. Just check if the cover is seated on the packing properly. I'll show you the fulcrum unit or the gear selector assembly, and even I want to confirm if it is not fitted properly. You just lift up. I hope you guys can see. I'm sorry for the camera view, but I'm a single person handling everything here, so I guess you don't mind. So it's moving properly and it's stuck up over there properly. So you just carry on with our assembly. Everything looks normal to me. You just tap it again, since we lifted up the cover for inspection purpose. This is the lock, but don't forget to use or put the oil thrower ring. This is given for lubricating the bearing, and it has got a specific thread. Lock is for the nut. It has got a counterclock threading. I'm going to use rattle gun over here, or the runner, or the pneumatic gun, but by keeping low torque, not high torque. And secondly, this is the washer. It has got a specific washer. It has got different thickness. This is for the 4-clock assembly. I'm not going to tighten anything apart from main screws, cover screws, because we will be requiring all those things while setting up the gearbox final setting. There are 5 screws which you have to fix up. Okay, about the torque. Now here I'm not using torque. I'm going to use hand torque only. That is what I prefer, because what happens generally, if you use torque range, currently I have a longer torque range which has got a very long leverage, so I don't want to use longer leverage. Torques can create extra torque, so I don't want to use. Number 2, If you use torque wrench over here, and if the threads are weak, even though sometimes it looks good, but because of the metal quality over the period, if the threads are weak, then you may damage the threads. So best is to use, hand. I prefer that for older bikes. Wherever it is necessary, of course, torque wrench is important, but wherever it is not, then don't give. At least that is my practice. You want to use torque wrench, that is up to you. I'll not force you in that case. Now, most important thing is that tightening those screws. Those screws are three screws are small screws and two screws are longer in length. The bottom one screws are longer and upper three are smaller, and the empty holes which you see near to the four clock, the upper one and the lower one, that will be with the secondary gearbox cover. That is also one of the foundation only. I am using slotted or the regular screwdriver, but as I mentioned, I'm going to use my hand torque rather than using torque wrench. You can use the torque if you have a smaller torque, number one, and if you are confident about it. Tightening has to be done in cross or star way, otherwise you may warp the cover because it's an aluminum alloy. Smooth fitting, no glitches at all. This gearbox is almost I think 2003 or 2004 manufactured. Very old gearbox, but very beautiful condition. Now done the tightening. Now I'm almost done with the gearbox assembly. Now we have to fix up the selector assembly from the top side, then we are good to go. Now small spares are there which we'll have to install on the primary cover. I don't like to change randomly everything unless and until it is necessary. Just close all the plugs: filling plug, drain plug, level plug. I prefer to use Teflon tape for sealing. It works well, very beautifully in fact. This is the filling plug. Bottom has got drain plug, of course. The side one has got it's a basically level plug. When you are refilling the gearbox, when after 20,000, so at that time, to understand whether you have filled up ample grease, 00 grade grease or not, so to understand that, they have given level plug. I'll just show you. I'm sorry for the camera. The way video is important, but same way my work is also important. So sometimes I forget that I'm recording something. I goes in such trance where all my concentration basically locks on my work rather than the camera. It happens many times. In fact, it happened. So this is the drain plug, this is the level plug, and this is the filling plug. So all you have to tight, but I'll do it later on. That was the neutral switch. No leakage. The packing all fitment done properly. The nut has got special face. One is round or curvish and one is flat. The flat slide is gonna be, that flat side is important. Flat side is gonna be towards the shaft. I'm just going to use the rattle gun, but not with too much of torque, but enough to tight. Here anyways I can't use torque wrench because right now the gearbox is not fitted on the clutch, or in fact clutch is not holding, so there is no holding from another side. I'm just going to use the special screwdriver which can be hammered for locking purpose, the one which is going to lock the nut. The hole what you see in the shaft is for the clutch rod, that I'll show you later on. There are so many things to learn about this gearbox. I'm just going to use my mallet instead of metal for locking the plate. Both the locks I'm going to fold on the nut edge. Since we keep on checking around each and every spare part, so quite confident that everything is working well. This is the cap. The cap has got one special slot there, that it has to be on the top because it is given for the gear shaft. There are two screws for this cap. One is smaller, one is longer. The smaller is on the top, the longer is for the at the bottom, because there will be we have to fix up the spring, kick spring over there. So this is how it's gonna be. Company have not given the washer for the longer bolt, so I am going to do this improvisation. I'm going to use one washer. Plain washer is fine. That will hold up the spring properly. Have to be very careful when you are fitting up the kicker spring, because it has got a very tremendous high pressure, so be careful with the fingers. I have seen most of the people have getting injured. I'm just going to use another spring so I can stretch it properly. You'll have to struggle a little bit. Without struggle there will be nothing, so you'll have to struggle. Since it's not on the table, so gearbox may move, so be careful with it. You'll have to attempt. Without that you can't go ahead. You find out the way and you get it done. That's how it is. There's a longer bolt with the washer what I'm using, just to avoid the spring slippage from the head. Sometimes there is a possibility that the spring head may slip from the bolt head. I prefer to use here Allen bolt, but right now since this hexagonal bolt is fine, so I'm not going to use. But it's a good thing to use Allen bolt rather than the hex over here. Here it's a inches bolt, so I'll have to use inches spanner. You can't use spanner over here. It looks like a 10 but it's not a 10 So best is to have all the inches spanners as well. That completes your tool room. You can use open end, you can use ring spanner, you can use box spanner, doesn't matter, but it has to be inches for sure. This is the problem with older bikes. Some spares are in some spares are in inches, so it's very difficult to repair because you'll have to have both the toolkits around with you. Without that it won't work. Slowly, steadily we have to go ahead. We are about to complete the job. Now the selector assembly, spring fitted properly, no problem at all. There is no chance of slipping of that spring head from the bolt. If there is any debris or foreign metal, just remove it, clean it up. Small color only, it's a powder coating. I used one longer spring to hold the spring, so the powder coating layer just around that, but no issues, that can be removed. Now this is the selector assembly, selector shaft. Just don't forget to lubricate, because here you're going to put the selector shaft. This is the biggest spring for the gear selector assembly. There are 2 springs. These are 2 studs basically for holding up the bottom plate as well as the top plate or the M plate. Now you have to keep it loose. I'm not going to tight anything, because I know that I have to do the setting of the gears later on, once the gearbox is on the engine or the whole unit is on the chassis. So I'm just going to keep it loose, not going to tight anything. Neither I have tightened the fork lock as well. I just kept it like that, only hand tight. Slightly you have to tight just for temporary purpose, because you have to assemble all other things on the selector assembly. So to complete the unit, just for holding purpose, I have just tightened that, but it's not a confirm tightening or confirm position of the plate, because in this 4-speed gearbox there are a few settings which you need to understand, and yes, there is a logic behind it. This is the main selector assembly. It has got a spring from the back side as well. This spring, just don't forget to put the grease. This spring has to be fitted like this way. It will go. I'm not right now confirming anything, so just trying to fix up everything, just checking around if there is anything wrong. This tooth or the dowel has to be fitted, or the spring will be located on those dowels. Half dowel is on the upper plate, and second half is on the lower plate. Now this is the main selector. If you flip, then you can only put the vehicle in first and second, but not in third and fourth. So this has to be like this way, opposite of the selector assembly. These teeth, just keep it loose. Here I know I am making one mistake that you will get to know. I'll show you, since this is recorded, so I know what I have done there. I'm not finalizing yet, because I just want to make sure everything is with me. And don't forget that if anything you find in the tray, in your spare tray, so just don't keep on accumulating all the spares aside. I'm very much sure that you have forgotten something, so don't keep it aside. Just think where we have done the mistake. Now here is the mistake I have done, because I found leftover these 2 washers. Anyways, as I mentioned that this was not the final decision, so I'm just going to open up everything, not the whole gearbox but only the selector assembly. I'll just put the washers. So thank God that I forgot only washers, nothing else. Of course, I'm a human being, but that is the reason that you have to go through the logic, that why it is not going. It has to be something. I mean, there has to be something in spare if I am forgetting something. This is how you have to ask yourself when you are doing any kind of assembly. So these studs basically need 2 washers, which I forgot. Anyways, we are done, almost done. I hope you enjoyed this video. After a long time, I got some good chunk to share with the people. Just keep it loose. Don't forget to grease. Here I'm going to use black hub grease rather than AP3, because this has got a different melting point. So when the gearbox gets heat up or something, then and because of the vertical position, gravity works. So AP3 grease may get loose and may come to the bottom side of the gearbox. So just to avoid that, I'm using I prefer to use this black grease or the hub grease. This is how it's gonna be. Don't forget to put the grease on the surface of that plate. Very little filming is important, not too much of grease over there. It is not necessary to grease each and every point, because wherever there is a motion, only there you need greasing or oiling. But apart from that, you don't need unnecessarily putting any excessive grease is wrong. This is how you have to put. And yes, here you need major chunk. Just fill it up properly. When you do this proper, greasing and everything, and or the setting, uh, 4-speed gearbox works very beautifully. Now it's high time to fix up the end plate with those two nuts. It has got a fine thread, so don't tight those nuts too much, otherwise a company have given the torque number, but I don't use. I just use my hand torque, as I mentioned. Sometimes your hand torque can be dangerous, so be careful with it. You're just about to complete the job. Finally is the end plate and both the nuts. I'm going to keep it loose. I have to do the setting, as I mentioned. I'll just do it once I put the whole assembly on the chassis. So we are done with the current job. Don't forget to use the shim for the neutral finder. Excessive grease just wipe out, fill it and leave it. I hope you guys enjoyed this.
Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. You have seen all the detailed workout, how I have assembled the gearbox, and how I have gone through step by step, according to company standards, we can say, wherever we found the glitch, wherever I made the mistake, then I rectified it. So this is how you have to assemble. Basically, you have to use first of all your logic and you have to understand what will happen if you do it wrong way, what will happen if you do it right way, why it is not going like this only, why it is not fitting like that only, like this way. Lot of things are there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and next video is gonna be regarding this 5-speed gearbox. So thanks for watching and have a great day.